All right, and we are live. Hopefully, the Wi-Fi and bandwidth and everything holds out, because sometimes it goes out and such. But here we are. We are live, and we are at the 2022 CalNENA conference. We are currently in the vendor hall, and if you are here as an attendee, make sure to check out all of the industry partners and what they are doing. And a big shout out and thanks to CalNENA for presenting. The podcast. And also, I did an Imagine Listening session yesterday. There was a lot of people in there. It was really good, very powerful. And I'm excited because we are doing this live broadcast, and I've got my guest here with me, and I'm with Leanne.
Magoski.
I knew I was gonna
Every time.
say
That's okay.
Magoski, and it was Magoski.
Magoski.
Oh
okay.
man, every time. But we're here.
Yes, we are, and we're live.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we're live.
Yes.
And for those who don't know Leanne is the Director of Emergency Communications at Monterey County, and this is out of California. We're here in your home state.
Home state.
Yeah.
Yes.
How's it been for you here this week already?
Well, I just finished up my 6 years on the CalNENA board.
Yeah.
So proud of the CalNENA organization. It's given a lot, and for this to be my final conference on the board, so proud to see where they go, but I'm so sad when I was not standing up there being sworn in. So CalNENA has really grown.
Yeah.
We are one of the largest state chapters. We'd like to stay that way. And seeing the passion and emotion on everybody's faces, the smiles, and asking how people are enjoying themselves, and seeing dispatchers, managers, and vendor partners all coming together and learning, it's just really rewarding and refreshing. The board doesn't have any committees to do this.
Yeah.
It is the 7 of us that put on this entire event, and we continue to make it better every time. And I can geek out on CalNENA and chapter leadership, but I mean, it is really a lot, and it's a credit to the board and all of the different things. So, event registration, we changed that this year, and it really went much smoother, and it's just fantastic, and it's a lot to put on a conference.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, and for those who are watching right now and listening, thank you for joining us and everything. And if you get a chance, please make sure to not only share this broadcast on your feed, but also to your favorite dispatching page. If you have not had a chance to come to this conference, you need to check this conference out. As she was saying, it's amazing. There's a lot of stuff. I think one of my favorite things is that right before you go into the main hall, where all of the the announcements are made, some of the industry partners, they do their thing up there on the stage, but also the board goes up there. There's a lot of different things that are presented there. There's a huge screen right outside. And if you are, in there or anything, if you're outside in the hall, you can watch and listen to everything that's going on there. So when I was here a couple of years ago, I was doing a pre-conference, and I was doing, I think it was like 3.5 hour session. And I remember we were doing Imagine Listening. And before I had walked in, I was thinking, everyone is going to hear everything that is going on in that session. So when we got to the Imagine Listening part and we were doing open mic and all of these funny stories were being shared, at the end of it, I said, well, everyone heard outside all of the stories that you just shared. And I remember when I left that room, there were a bunch of people who were giving me high fives and stuff, and they were like, that was hilarious. Like I was like, oh man. But it's one of the coolest things that if you're unable to get in there to attend everything else that's going on for those main parts, especially with the keynotes and such, you're able to be out there and listen to everything that is going on. How did that even come about? Like, what was that? What was behind that? Because that's a very cool idea.
Well, I mean, first of all, shameless plug for San Diego Event Pros and Don Brennan. They are our AV support.
Mm-hmm.
And every year he comes up with new ideas. And, one of the things is the board is always at the registration desk. There has to be somebody there.
Yeah.
So, Mark Chase sits at that registration desk, and it's like he can't go to the presentation. So that really was like so that everybody can see what's going on. And then, there are reasons that you have to not be in there so you can kind of, or like, oh, what's on right now? You could really see that. And it's a very powerful way to really pull people in to what's going on in the class or in that general session. And it just really elevates us to a higher conference and that conference feel.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just very fortunate that we've been able to have the budget and the collaboration with San Diego Event Pros to be able to continue to bring things like that. Another part, in the classroom breakout sessions, this time instead of having those standard foam core boards, then there's always like a Sharpie canceled. we were able to go ahead and go to digital readout boards so that we could update things. And the event app, again, we can do automatic pushes. Unfortunately, the first day pre-conference, the elevators are down. You will be taking the stairs. Plan accordingly. Thank goodness that this hotel was sold out to dispatchers. We can roll with the power outage and subsequent hotel on generator. And yes, everybody had, and we turned it into health and wellness is very important for the dispatch profession. Right. And we provided some of that as you trudge down the stairs this morning. Have some free coffee and go to class.
Right. So, yeah. I heard a lot of people saying, I got in my steps. Yes. I got in my steps.
Yes. Health and wellness, very important.
That's
very
amazing. Important. So for those who are watching and listening, just a kind of a summary and background on you before we get into one of the other main points that we're kind of doing this live broadcast as well. And I had you and Don I meant not Don. Who's Don? Don on a session. We did an episode.
We did.
I think in Denver, Colorado, maybe.
It was
something like that.
I think it was San Antonio.
Was it San Antonio?
2016.
Oh man. Something. Yeah, it was. Yes. Yeah, it was a while back. But
you were like in a corner, kind of like bootlegging the videos at the time, and we're talking about Don Jones. There's a lot of Dons.
Yeah, Don Jones. Yeah, not he's like, Don Jones. I don't know.
he was like, oh my gosh, that's Ricardo Martinez. Let's go over and talk to him. I'm like, what are we doing?
That's right. Yes,
yes.
That's
and
right.
I'm like, what have you gotten me into? Okay.
Yes, the two of you sat down and we were talking. I was like, do you want to do an episode? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And I think you said that exactly the same way. What are we doing? Like, yes. What is it that we're doing?
And so I paid him back by, you need to be on the CalNENA board.
There you go.
So see, everything happens.
It's full circle. It all went well. So for those who are watching and listening, how did you get into public safety to begin with?
So I always say, 2022 marks my 26th year in the career, but in reality, I've been doing this now for about 30 years if you count my Explorer cadet time.
Oh, yeah.
So in high school with my friends, a couple guys I knew joined this Explorer post. I'm like, what's that? That looks fun. And, I became a law enforcement explorer and got my first agency. Shout out Escondido, California.
Oh.
Here in San Diego.
Yeah.
And I became a law enforcement explorer and really learned. And Escondido had this great idea of, hey, kids, you're not 21 yet, but you can be a dispatcher. And, there was other opportunities. And I'm fond of saying chance favors the prepared mind. And, I've been working for free, basically, as an explorer cadet, doing traffic control, doing different things. And so I had applied for 2 different jobs. One is a property clerk. And I was just completely underqualified as an 18-year-old kid for property clerk. And when I got to the community service officer, I didn't fill out the application as well as I should have. So when that dispatcher application came in, I got my mom to let me go to Montgomery Wards and get a typewriter. And I typed that application.
Montgomery Wards.
I'm probably dating myself super much here.
I remember Montgomery Ward.
And I typed that application out and I got the job as a dispatcher.
Nice.
And, I knew my codes.
Yeah.
Typing. What's typing? And so I began a very tough year, 19 years old, never had a full-time job of being a dispatcher. And it was hard, really, really hard that first year.
Wow.
Learning everything, the officers that you worked with as Explorer Cadet. When I ask you for this, I expect you to give me that, right. And walking home every night going, just let me get to my car. But it never occurred to me not to just keep coming back. And so eventually made it through training, finally got under my feet and really fell in love with it. And so in a couple years, things changed and moved north to San Jose. And randomly applied to a few places. And, coming in, being an explorer and whatnot, and you go into your first center, I still remember the first day it was, "Hi, my name is Jerry. I'll be your trainer. Why don't we sit down and start taking some calls?" That was my first day in dispatch.
Just like that?
Just like that. So 4 years, fast forward 4 years, year 2000, I've applied a few places. And I'm getting these phone calls. I'm being recruited because we've decided, my husband at the time and I have decided we're relocating to San Jose to be closer to my family. We're getting recruited. I'm getting recruited. You come to our center, come to this center. And well, San Jose at the time you applied, and police and fire you applied, and then they separately called you. And I always remember anything that I go, I'm not doing that. Yeah, guess what? That's the thing you're going to end up doing. So be careful what you say.
Right.
I'm all, fire? Why is fire calling me? I'm a police dispatcher. For those that know me, I spent the next 11 years at San Jose Fire because they had a really good recruiter that told me about an academy I was going to learn, and be taught before I, jumped in. And I really got passionate at San Jose Fire. San Jose Fire Communications gave me my start, promoted to shift supervisor there. Gary Galasso at Priority Dispatch booth was my first battalion chief that gave me a shot to be promoted to shift supervisor.
Oh, no way.
Yes. So was at San Jose Fire, promoted through the ranks, worked every position that you possibly could there. And was an incident dispatcher, really got that passion of being able to go out into the field. San Jose people know this, but we had a little fire called the Santana Row Fire, and it was an 11-acre structure fire. The entire wing of a multi retail and apartment building caught on fire while it was under construction. And fire embers went across the freeway onto other buildings, catching apartments on fire. And it was my first response as an incident dispatcher. And, you're running towards the scene. You're a dispatcher. You're used to sitting in the seat.
Right.
But you're running to the scene, and I'm like going through my mind, my calming techniques. Okay, I'm running towards a fire. Do I got this? I'm fine. We'll figure this out. And we set up our first command post at the Flames restaurant. So, it was flame showing from the flames. So it was kind of cute. And we were right next to a gas station. I'm running towards a gas station when there's a 11-acre structure fire blaze. You can feel the sheer heat coming towards you, so that you can get to the command post, get set up, and really provide that communication.
Yeah.
So one of the great things about San Jose was it really encouraged leadership and growth. And I went through a lot of education there. I had learned a lot about training and really got a passion for training and teaching and recruiting and hiring. And so I decided to go ahead and go back to school, get my bachelor's degree while I was there. And then because that's not enough, I went and got my master's degree. So I have a bachelor's degree in management and a master's degree in leadership. And so, you're like, why is this important? But those things of really learning that after really being in the career for almost 10 years at that time of getting my bachelor's and then my master's, I was ready to be like, I want to manage my own center. I want to do this, or I want to do that. Actually, I was like, I think I want to be a city manager. It was like that long term, and you had to have a master's degree to do that. So I wanted to test my gusto and be a manager. And unfortunately, at the time, San Jose Fire didn't have a manager. It was a rotating battalion chief. So I started applying, and I then went to Marin County Sheriff's Office. And I mentioned this when I gave out the Bill McMurray Award. I remember applying for this going, wait, that's Bill McMurray's shop? I had heard the Bill McMurray name. I can't run Bill McMurray's shop. There's no way that I spent the next 7 years at the Marin County Sheriff's Office. Some great people. And because of that, and because of people in the industry talking to me, and they started saying, hey, you should be on the CalNENA board. Hey, what about this? And hey, what about that? And so from like 2011, 2012, when I got there, until this time, I really started to be able to move into my career, be on committees, and do different things to really advocate and give back to the profession.
Nice.
So 7 years at the Marin County Sheriff's Office. And at that point, state 911 advisory board member, governor appointed, representing CalNENA, and really understanding that when you work for an organization, you report, to somebody. People that know me have a lot of ideas. Can't keep my mouth shut. And sometimes, there's someone you work for, and you got to respect that.
Right.
And so when this opportunity came up in Monterey, it's a standalone department. You are the department head. I decided to take a chance, and there was a big family decision there because Marin County and Monterey County. For those of you that don't know California geography, Sonoma County is actually where I live. Don Jones. That's why I'm on Don Jones all the time because he's my PSAP up there in Sonoma County. We are north of the Golden Gate Bridge, and Monterey County is considered Central California, and it's about a solid hour south of San Jose. So, by the way, I still commute weekly, 2 hours and 20 minutes without traffic.
What?
There's always traffic. So, I live in two places to be able to do this, but been at Monterey County for 3 years. Fantastic opportunity. Combined center. We dispatch for 28 agencies. We have a 24-seat center, and now, thank you, COVID, a 12-seat expanded center.
Oh, jeez.
So, but be careful what you wish for, because as a director, you don't always get to touch operations as much as you'd like to.
Right.
And you learn a lot about budgets and expenditures. I see Roxy Van Gundy all the time cursing expenditures on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait till you have a $14 million budget and then another $2 million budget for radio and your special revenue fund. So if there's no general fund backup, if you run out of money, they charge you interest.
Oh, geez.
So, and you have to do that on top of advocating for 911 and next generation and staffing and whatnot. So every level, I look back on the level that I had done before going, I understand that level a lot better now. So I've always thought I'd just jump in with both feet and swim. So, I mean, that's kind of like my career from soup to nuts that's led me to talking to you today.
So it seems like you definitely got into your blood early on, and and moving up and everything. Was there, what was one of those main reasons, I guess, for moving up? Was it really just you just wanted to make change? Did something happen early on in your career? Having good trainers, or maybe something happened to you during training or something where you thought, what, I want to make sure that this doesn't happen for any of the others who are coming in. I want to make a change that way as well.
I think a lot of people you talk to, some of my closest friends have been at the same agency. Yeah. So it's like only one opportunity to move up. I've always been somebody who just aspires to help and give back. And I have a big mouth. So that usually means I get put in charge of something. So I can't help myself. It was never a plan to be like, I want to be a 911 director someday.
Yeah.
But, chance favors the prepared mind. I think if anything, what made you keep moving forward was my first agency. We had PRC CAD in Escondido, and it was great. I went to San Jose. We were on PRC CAD, and it was a little less great.
Yeah. And
I said, we should have a better CAD in San Jose. I mean, it's a little busier here.
Yeah.
We actually burn things down. I'm on the fire side. I was like, and so it was really that passion of technology. And I had some very supportive coworkers in San Jose, and they went, yeah, kid, you want to be on that CAD committee? Be on that CAD committee. You want to promote? You promote. I promoted in San Jose as a supervisor 1 year after being there.
Wow.
And I was supervising people that were old enough to be, technically my parents. And what I learned early on is you don't have to know everything. You have to be a good team player, a collaborator. And as the supervisor, as the manager, as the director, you need to clear roadblocks so your people can be their best self. And so that's just always guided me. And I just keep trying to stick up, I feel like. And Budge Curio probably will tell you that too on the advisory board and long range planning committee. Mm-hmm. I'm a tireless advocate for that line level dispatcher. I want to clear the path, anything that's in their way, so that they can do the best job possible. And so I was always so proud of the I Am 911 movement and the things that you were able to do to really bring light to their stories. Because it's, it's not about the managers and the directors. They're like, this manager did this and that director did that. I would rather hear about what that dispatcher did.
Right.
And how we can make their time better so that they can do the best job they can do, because every dispatcher does a phenomenal job. And so, you ask me, what's your title? And I'm like, director. I'm like, really? I am the servant of my dispatchers.
There you go.
And I truly do believe that.
Well, so then that's a good segue into what it is that you're doing now as well. You're running for a second VP, right, of National NENA.
I am.
So what really pushed you to decide to run? I mean, it sounds like everything, all of the story, to continue to help make change for 911 as a whole, but especially for those who are in the chair answering all of these calls. But what was your main drive for that?
My main drive for that was I really, again, throughout my career, keep elevating to the next level of like, what's next? How can I help? What can I do to help and advocate?
Yeah.
Advocate, facilitate, and collaborate. And I know there's a lot of eights or whatever, but I really, I do think that. And so it's like, how can I help? What can I do? So when I really looked at, I'm finishing my time on CalNENA, what's next? And so you really do look to your parent organization of NENA and looking at the opportunities to be able to have that voice. Some dispatchers are like, I want to sit in my chair. I don't want to talk publicly. And so I've always had this ability and my big mouth to be able to speak up and be like, hey, they won't say it, but I'll tell you.
Right.
And I'm proud to say I will not forget what it's like to sit in that chair. I will not forget and appreciate the mandatory overtime. And so why am I running? So that I can continue to bring those information up to the national level. The biggest thing I'm passionate about is the fact that why aren't we fully staffed? We've got a lot of smart people. None of us are fully staffed.
Right. And it's been like that for years, right?
For years. We're really proud in California with the Long Range Planning Committee. We're having the state finally do a study on recruitment and retention, because we can all say it in our gut. There's a 50% washout rate. Why? We need to let's use those data scientists to figure out if there's any correlations or whatnot. And then let's share that nationally. Let's get these centers fully staffed. Let's say, and so when it's okay to not be okay, and then it's okay to have staffing. I mean, like really, it's okay to have staffing, and that's
right.
What we definitely need to figure out. So that passion combined with my interest I have the ability, I can speak enough tech to get the attention to be able to speak and be like, this is what we need. And I've always had a really good relationship with the vendors. Some vendors, they're like, and people can ask, I'm one of those people. I will tell you like it is. I cannot play poker. You will see it on my face. If I'm wrong, I will totally own that I'm wrong. And I will be like, oh my gosh, you're right. But sometimes I'm like, but prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And so with vendors, I'll be like, hey, this is what people are saying. I'll tell you. I'll be truthful. I'll praise you in public. I will also sometimes, provide some feedback on how you can do better. And it's always, how can you do better for the dispatcher, not for the manager? That's my big thing. What can you do for the dispatcher? And so I think the vendors that know me know that's the way I am. But I think that's another reason why I'm running for the board. It's because I feel like I have a decent relationship with the vendors to be able to break down those barriers so that we can get good quality products so that the dispatchers can do the best job that they can do.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on and sharing your story and why you're running and everything. And I have one last question for you. So reflecting on your career and everything, when you look back, if you could go back in time to talk to yourself, like what type of advice would you give yourself?
Well, now you're going to throw a question that I don't really have an answer. You know more than you think you know.
Yeah.
Shout out Rosa Ramos, president. You lead yourself. You pick yourself up. And don't be in doubt so much.
Yeah.
Just keep moving forward. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. So, I mean, when we have a critical incident, and this would be a really good way to close, you never know what you're doing until you look back. So be gentle with yourself, because we can be our own worst critics. We had a critical incident in Monterey County. One of our Salinas PD family, and I'm going to get choked up, was killed. And it was very, very hard on my family, the dispatch center, and my family, Salinas PD, and the surrounding Monterey County. And what would I tell myself? Same thing I want to tell my dispatchers. You rock. You did everything you possibly could have. There's nothing else you couldn't have. And we all see you and support you. And we've gotten so much love and outpouring from this conference and from our surrounding partners. But a lot of times dispatchers put their head down and they go, but I wasn't part of that, or I'm not part of X agency. And, and I was talking to that police chief, and he said, you know what? You are part of our family. And so if anybody's listening, and I really just want people to remember, dispatchers, sometimes in the moment, they do get overlooked. It's not intentional. I just want you to know that as hopefully your next NENA second VP, I see you. We all see you. And we want to break down barriers to support you through technology, health and wellness, and staffing. And so thank you for the time. And again, a mad shout out to my Monterey County dispatch team. They're fabulous.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being on, and to all of you for being here, listening, watching, supporting, sharing all of it, and especially CalNENA. Thank you again for presenting, hosting the podcast here. It has been excellent. For those who are watching, if you have any comments, questions, or you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that'll be wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. That is @91podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Within the Trenches Podcast. This live broadcast is sponsored by InDigital, Rapid Deploy, as well as Carbine. And if you're looking for any bonus content, you can check us out and support us at patreon.com/WTT Podcast. This can be seen on Facebook, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, Twitter, and for any audio versions of Within the Trenches podcast, you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you in the next one.